Whispers in the Dark, Episode 1, The Haunting of Willow Creek. The old Victorian mansion at the edge of Willow Creek had stood vacant for decades, a looming, imposing presence against the backdrop of the tranquil town. Local folklore whispered of a family who had met a tragic end within its walls, their spirits said to linger there, trapped in a perpetual state of torment. When the Petersons moved into the mansion, they were initially excited about the prospect of restoring the historic home. But as they settled in, they began to experience strange occurrences. Doors creaked open and shut on their own. Cold drafts swept through the rooms, and eerie whispers echoed through the halls. One night, young Sarah Peterson heard a child's laughter coming from the attic. Bravely, she climbed the narrow staircase, her heart pounding in her chest. As she reached the top, she saw a spectral figure of a little girl playing with a doll. The girl turned, her eyes filled with an otherworldly sadness, and she vanished into the darkness. Terrified, Sarah ran back downstairs and told her parents about the encounter. The Petersons realized that they were not alone in the mansion. They consulted a local historian who confirmed the tragic tale of the original family. A young girl named Emily had died in the house, her spirit said to be trapped within its walls. Desperate to rid their home of the haunting, the Petersons hired a renowned paranormal investigator. Together they conducted a series of experiments, capturing the ghostly sounds and apparitions on electronic devices. The evidence was overwhelming. The mansion was indeed haunted. With the help of the investigator, the Petersons were able to communicate with Emily's spirit. They learned that she was trapped in the house due to a deep-seated fear and sorrow. Through a series of rituals and prayers, they were able to help Emily find peace and move on to the afterlife. The Petersons left the mansion, relieved to be free of the haunting. The old house remained vacant, its history a cautionary tale for future residents. Episode 2, The Curse of the Banshee. The dense, ancient forest that surrounded Willow Creek was steeped in legend. One such legend told of a banshee, a supernatural creature said to wail to warn of impending doom. Local folklore claimed that hearing the banshee's cry was a harbinger of death. A group of teenagers, eager to prove their bravery, decided to venture into the forest on a moonlit night. They had heard the tales of the banshee but dismissed them as old wives' tales. As they wandered deeper into the woods, a chilling wind began to blow, rustling the leaves and sending shivers down their spines. Suddenly, a piercing wail echoed through the trees, sending the teenagers scrambling for cover. They huddled together, their hearts pounding in their chests. The wail continued, growing louder and more intense. Fear gripped them as they realized they were not alone in the forest. As the wailing subsided, the teenagers cautiously emerged from their hiding place. The forest was eerily quiet, the only sound the gentle rustling of leaves. They decided to turn back, their adventure cut short by the encounter with the banshee. As they made their way out of the woods, they couldn't shake the feeling that they had been warned. The legend of the banshee, once dismissed as a myth, now seemed a little more real. Episode 3, The Shadow Man. A mysterious figure known only as the Shadow Man was said to stalk the streets of Willow Creek at night. His presence was felt rather than seen, a chilling sensation that crept into the hearts of those who encountered him. Several people had reported sightings of the Shadow Man, always lurking in the shadows, his form indistinct. Some claimed to have felt a cold touch on their shoulder or heard a whispered name in the darkness. Fear spread throughout the town as the disappearances became more frequent. One night, A young woman named Emily was walking home from work when she felt a presence behind her. She turned, but there was no one there. A chill ran down her spine as she quickened her pace. Suddenly a cold hand grabbed her arm, and she found herself staring into the empty, soulless eyes of the Shadow Man. Terrorized, Emily screamed and tried to break free, but the Shadow Man's grip was iron-like. She felt herself being pulled into the darkness, her screams fading into the night. The next morning, Emily was found unconscious in the woods, her memory of the encounter hazy and incomplete. The Shadow Man remained a mystery, his existence shrouded in fear and speculation. Episode 4. The Devil's Deal. A local farmer named Thomas had always been a simple man, content with his modest life. But a series of misfortunes had left him desperate and broken. In his despair, he turned to the darkest of forces, offering his soul to the devil in exchange for wealth and power. The devil appeared to Thomas, his eyes glowing with an eerie light. He offered Thomas a deal: wealth and prosperity in exchange for his soul upon his death. Thomas, blinded by his greed, accepted the offer. Almost immediately, Thomas's fortunes turned. His crops flourished, his livestock multiplied, and he became one of the wealthiest men in Willow Creek. But as time passed, he began to feel a growing sense of unease. The devil's presence seemed to be growing stronger, and he realized that he had made a terrible mistake. One night, the devil appeared to Thomas once again, demanding his soul. Thomas pleaded for mercy, but it was too late. The devil claimed his prize, and Thomas's spirit was dragged into the darkness. The disappearance of Thomas sent a chill through the town. The legend of his pact with the devil became a cautionary tale, a warning against the dangers of greed and temptation. Episode 5. The Werewolf of Willow Creek. The woods surrounding Willow Creek were said to be home to a monstrous creature known as the werewolf. Legend had it that on the night of the full moon, a man would transform into a savage beast, roaming the forest in search of prey. One night, a young man named David was walking through the woods when he heard a strange, howling sound. Curiosity led him towards the source of the noise, and he found himself face to face with a creature unlike anything he had ever seen. It was a man, but its body was covered in thick gray fur, and its eyes glowed with an unnatural intensity. Terrorized, David turned and ran, but the creature was faster. He felt its hot breath on his neck as it chased him through the woods. Just as the creature was about to catch him, the full moon disappeared behind a cloud, and the creature's form began to change. It reverted back to its human form, collapsing to the ground, exhausted. David fled the scene, his heart pounding in his chest. He had seen the werewolf, and he knew that he would never forget the experience. The legend of the werewolf, once dismissed as a myth, had become a terrifying reality for him. Episode 6. The Ghost Train. A chilling tale circulated among the townspeople of Willow Creek, one that spoke of a ghostly train that traveled through the town at night, carrying the souls of the departed. Some claimed to have heard the train's whistle, a mournful sound that echoed through the streets. Others claimed to have seen the train's ghostly lights gliding through the darkness. A group of teenagers, intrigued by the legend, decided to investigate. One night, they gathered near the train tracks, their hearts pounding with excitement and fear. As the clock struck midnight, a strange silence fell over the town. Then they heard it, the mournful whistle of a train. The teenagers watched as a ghostly light appeared in the distance, growing brighter as it approached. The train seemed to float above the tracks, its windows glowing with an eerie light. As it passed, The teenagers felt a cold chill run down their spines. The encounter with the ghost train left a lasting impression on the teenagers. They had witnessed something truly extraordinary, a glimpse into the supernatural world that lurked beneath the surface of their seemingly ordinary town. Episode 7. The Demon Seed. A mysterious seed was said to have been planted in the heart of Willow Creek, a seed that held the power to unleash a terrifying evil. The seed was said to have been brought to the town by a stranger who had planted it in a secluded spot before disappearing without a trace. As the seed grew, strange occurrences began to take place. Animals went missing, and people reported feeling a sense of unease. The once peaceful town was gripped by fear as the evil within the seed began to manifest. One night, the seed burst into bloom, revealing a monstrous plant with razor-sharp leaves and glowing eyes. The plant began to attack the town, its tendrils reaching out and grasping at its victims. Panic spread as people fled their homes, seeking refuge wherever they could. A small group of brave individuals banded together to fight the demon plant. They used ancient rituals and powerful artifacts to weaken the plant, eventually destroying it. The evil that had threatened to consume Willow Creek was defeated, and the town was saved. Episode 8. The Final Confrontation. The forces of darkness that had plagued Willow Creek had grown stronger, uniting against the town in a final desperate attempt to consume it. The townspeople, their courage bolstered by their recent victories, prepared to defend their home. The battle raged through the streets, the air filled with the sounds of screams, gunfire, and the clash of metal. The supernatural creatures that had haunted Willow Creek fought with a ferocity that seemed beyond their human capabilities. In the midst of the chaos, a group of brave individuals,